All right. Okay, in page Kuftes, she started talking about this this important distinction between Seichel and Midas. That in the world of Seichel, the two sides of Chesed and Gvura are there's no division between them. The division happens at a later stage. We'll say in Kuftes, we finish bringing the mashal from the story from the Sukkim and get to the Mabel, that the observation, the Seichel, Ki Yetzer Leva Adam Rabbeinu Ur, contains two opposite results. Before the Mabel, it was the reason bringing the Mabel. After the Mabel, it was the reason for promising there'll be no more Mabel. And that's proof that the Seichel itself doesn't have the difference, can contain opposites. So that's the Lashon, the Shor Maschal V'aseichel shechir tchila midas hagvur atzmi shechir v'achakach midas hachesed. V'inyan ha'toya l'gvur chesed gvur. The truth is, the fact that there is ha'toya, so in the level of Seichel, in the level of understanding and analyzing the thing itself, there's really no difference in chesed and gvur. What stage in the Seichel do we reach the ha'toya, leaning to one side or the other? This is really not a result of the Moich and Chachma or Bina themselves. That is the contribution and the invention of Moich Hadas. The Das makes the Seichel leaning one way or the other. Because that's Noita. There's an expression in, I think it's in Chazal, Das Noita, that my opinion leans to one side or the other. That the Das is the one who makes the decision. At the beginning, in this story, we spoke about the Mabel. This Seichel of Yetzer Lev at first, it turned that intellectual analysis, that intellectual observation in the direction of guilt, and later, after the Mabel, that same das was noted to the direction of innocence. But the scholar itself, the scholar itself is above that division of guilt or innocence. The scholar itself is equal, but it can result into opposite. It can give you a reason and a logical explanation why one should be innocent, for schus, for innocence, just for guilt. It's interesting, he uses a lot of words to bring out this point. Not sure if I'm medayik here, but it just repeats the same thing. That the actual movement, the actual draw of the judge, let's say, whether to go to wonder what innocence or guilt, then when it reaches the actual, the next stage, there's a leaning, and then it's then there's a division. There's a real division, because these two movements, these two directions of guilt and innocence, they're mamish opposites. That's the actual expression of the decision of the leaning to one direction or the other. The judgment of guilt created the Mabel. So that's a powerful one direction. The other view, the innocence, that took us modern innocence, maybe. Yeah, exactly, it's innocent. That caused the fact that the world was in the sky. sustained. But the way this thing, these two views existed within Chesed, Chachma, Bina, Atzmon. The actual analysis wouldn't cause either the Ma'abel or the Ma'abel. So that is the one that makes the actual decision and the choice what direction to go. What is the reason that the middle of Das has that quality that can lean in one direction or the other and divide it? That related to what we said just at the beginning of this page. It was in the Meichin and Midas. In the world of Meichin, there is no division. In Midas, there is division. Das is already part of Midas. It is known that the Spalas Alev, the inspiration, excitement of the heart, is a result of Das, Kashas. If you remember Tanya Sef Gimel, that's what the Alter Rebbe describes the first time, and he showed this concept that Das is the connection. The Bahasoga Levat, when the person is in a state of Hasoga, pure intellectual understanding, comprehension, even though in his mind he understands, comprehends well how good this thing is for him, it doesn't create a real feeling in the heart. It only happens to the middle of that, which that is explained in the Torah and the second mime of the view of Vedatayim. Again, because that is the part of the koiches that relates to Midas, already it's part of Midas. That's why there's division. To go more, break it down more. What is really the source for that? Das is a third level in Seichel. Chachma and Bina. Chachma means the general spark of the novel, spark of seeing the thing, seeing the object, and the Beina Seichel, seeing the general concept. And then that Saga means develop the specific development with understanding, breaking down the details. But Das is a third level, a korava agosha. You recognize and you feel it. It's a certain level in the way your mind captures the topic or the object, that it makes you really recognize the essence and feel it closely. This is why Das has this quality, that it can make one lean and feel a certain way, because it has the akor of our gosh. Like I mentioned the first time, in Eter, this sefer is Ayin Aleph, Tafresh Ayin Aleph. Eter, Tafresh Ayin, it's a long arichas, a few more Hemshech that describes very specifically how Das is that has this quality. That is why in the world of Das you have the full development of the Toya, of the leaning to one direction or the other, and the Schalkus and division. So Das, because it's a core, because you have full inner recognition and feeling that creates a full division. Now it takes us back to the beginning of this entire discussion. If you remember about from the Ida from the Idor Rabbah, that the pasuk, the Chachma Shem b'Chachma Shem b'Chachma even the Bais, the Koiner Shemayim b'Tvuna, the Das Chachamim Lo, Chadorim Lo. So over there it says in Zohar that Chachma is not a business. And Bina is Nun Shari Bina. Shekin Das is Elef Alof. It says Chadorim Im Lo. It takes us back to that person. Zer Shekosa B'Das Chadorim Im Lo, the Mila Chadorim Chadrei Halev Beribe Hat Ischalkos Mchinas HaDas Da. Chadorim, it says, are the chambers of the heart, the feelings, the emotions. That's connected to Das. Another remes, cheder, Rashateves, Chesed, Din, Rachman. The word cheder is really Rashateves of these three main branches of the emotions, Chesed, Din, Rachman. She calls them, that's how the Das Dafka. Shadas says, Seichel, Chesed, Gvura, because Das is the one that causes the leaning of the Seichel in one direction or the other. Chesed, Gvura. And they say, then after Nasachnes, Ischalkus, the Chub. So that creates the division of Chesed, Gvura, etc. So he doesn't bring back that not in that Zohar, but that's the meaning that the ultimate is Chalkos Elef Alofim. That happens at the level of Das, which is connected to Midas. Now, like I mentioned the first time, now there's a parenthesis, which is really the end of the, like it goes back to the Bamaster of the Maim. For some reason, the way he wrote it, the way it's printed here is that it's like a parenthesis in the end. We're answering, going back to the process that the Maim started with. Hashem iten chachma, the Eibush will give wisdom, he das. From his mouth, das comes out. So he has the question of what's the cash of piv to das? Why is das connected to piv? Why is it connected to dafka to piv? So the answer is like this: Yeshlemet the inner riba is chalkus shebedibo k'nesed midas mashkos makamacha, which is ba'alakam. The concept of ischalkus, of division, the ultimate division happens in dibo, in speech, in words. Like we say, Basar Mamoris Niva Olam. So the world was created with 10 utterances, the dibu, and so each of the 10 created a different object. So that itself is already Ischalkus. And like the Alter Rebbe says in Shaykhut, there's Chilukim with Mois. Each object in this world is created from a different word. Word means something, but dibu. So dibu, by definition, is Ischalkus. And we also talk about the Yachas of dibu and Machshava. That machshava achas, you just think about something, but if you want to develop it, break it into details, it's more in dibu. That's why das is next to piv. Shaldei das, a machshalek chug, or there's is chakas dibu. It's a little backwards, but the remez is clear. The piv, which is dibu, which is division, is connected to das, like we just explained. That all the divisions are a result from das. Shelo Isa, that brings another two sources of to explain what the piv das means. Shelo Isa, the koy alter shabal peh. The shalosh says that the positive mi piv das, mi piv means so Shem iten chachma. That is Teresh B'Chsav. Mi piv das, mi piv means Teresh B'Al Peh. Piv is Mahavas Teresh B'Al Peh. Noida, so that fits. So the Shalom explains the two parts of the pasuk, Ksav and B'Al Peh. But he says that, he says in the Maimar here, so that fits the explanation we just gave. Noida, the Ikar in Eis Chazim, Teresh B'Al Peh. The division, the breakdown, the specifics really happens in Teresh B'Al Peh. If Teresh B'Al Peh akaf is klolus adayin, or Teresh B'Al Peh v'apri reporting. B'zeon piv das. That's what the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya in the Geras HaKodesh, that the way things are in Teresh B'Chsav, they're very general, like v'oilu tektaf is bein einecha. It's a general statement, or even loy most of the mitzvahs with Tzav is very beremes, doesn't say clearly what it says, some very general statement, or it always been an echo. There's a ribi portrait. Develops the specific, the details, all the divisions. So that is one other source that strengthens the point we made before. The das is connected to division. Medrash Rabbah. Truth is, this matters we already bought in the beginning of the Maimah. In the beginning of the Maimah, we bought that Mipiv Das talks about on Aseres HaDivros, but it's Medrash. In Shir Hashirim says more. It says in Pasuk, Shir Hashirim Asher Shleimah. That's the beginning of Shir Hashirim. Second Pasuk says, "Yishakeni min shikras pihu." You will kiss me. You will kiss me with mouth. What's it about pihu? So the Medrash says in Shir Hashirim, the Koil Aneche V'Le'ilach Hashem Pi Agvura. The famous Gemara in the end of Marcus. The Torah Tziva Lanu Moshe, Torah Begimatah Tofei Shidalef, out of Taryag Mitzvahs, 611, Torah Tziva Lanu Moshe, Aneche V'Le'ilach Pi Agvura Shemam. That's what the Gemara is. But now this Medrash is Mara that what the word Pihu in the pasuk Shir Hashirim, Shkelim Shekes Pihu is Marames and Aneche V'Le'ilach Pi Agvura Shemam. Says the Rebbe here that's also strengthens the point we made before that if das connected to division. The Aneche V'Le'ilach and Chesed Gvura Kanoida. It says the two deals. Why is it? What is Aneche and Le'ilach? Aneche Hashem Lekecha, which is like it says in Tanya, Sheresh HaMachmitz is Esther, which is Chesed, action, extension. And Lo'ilach is Sheresh HaMachmitz is Lo'isese, which is the opposite, withholding. This is Gvura. So Chesed and Gvura. V'zeu, ad Chesed and Gvura happens. Like we just said, that das is the one that creates Chesed and Gvura. In the Meichin of Chachma Bina, there's no Yitzchalkus. Whether the Yitzchalkus Chesed and Gvura happen in das. That's what the pasuk says. Mi piv das. The P is connected to das. The das happens Yitzchalkus Chesed and Gvura. I came based on Divos and Nechel Leilachan Pi Agvura Shamayim Shen Kol Chesed and Gvura Shabbatayim because das da. Zeo mi piv das. Okay, so to summarize what we learn in this Maimah, he started talking about the concept. I mean, this is in the middle of a discussion. He started talking about what the meaning of what it says in Sefer Tznius, that in Elamat Toihu Loy Mashiach Apin Ba'apin. So he brought from Pirush Arizal, two points. Number one, that the Kesser, because it was Zetachazu, not Kavit, so Kesser was not mentioned directly into Tiferes, only to extra Chesed Gvura. There's the Chesed Gvura itself also was not funny. That I started the discussion. But the further what he's I would say the general point of this Maimah was that the riddle of explaining its Chalkus. It started in the page, where was it? Where was it? Yes. The Mishkal, the Maskala. Remember, you said the Mishkal, the scale has the Lashna Moiznaim, the tongue, so to speak, of the scale. That's the das. That makes sure that the two sides, the Chesed and the Gvura, are balanced. So he started saying that das, he started discussing that das. That's the Mishkal. So what we pick up from now till now is that this das, which is the Mishkal, which is the one that balances the the two sides of Chesed and Gvura, that is called Das. Das creates division and balance. So we're really in the middle of a discussion. So we'll start the next mimer. He'll continue in that topic. So that's the pasuk in Ba'alotcha. The mimer is the Shabbos Ba'alotcha after Shavuot. That the Eibishter says Ba'alotcha Saneros Amelpnei Nero Yerushivas Saneros. So we have a few point questions. What is the concept of Allah and Eretz? What does it mean you should elevate the Eretz? What is the inner meaning of it? Another question is, what is the meaning when it says Pnei Amenor? Mashmas Aposaku. The Pnei Amenor ain't Rachal Shivas Haneres, right? More Pnei Amenor, you're Shivas Haneres. There's the Shivas Haneres, and there's the Pnei Amenor, the face of the menorah, and the 7 candles shine. El Mul Pnei Amenor, facing the Pnei Amenor. So what does it mean? It's okay. It's not. It's a question in Teich. What is the message here? First of all, what is Allah's Haneres and what is Pnei Amenor? Love in Zes will continue the discussion of the topic of the Hemshech. Love in Zes like the Bashnas Ba'alil. The Ikar is Chalkas of Amides. Sheyesh beim Chesed the Gvul. Shem Afachim Zemizeh. Chesed the Gvul Afachim Zemizeh. That's his Chalkas. The Ma'ila Ma'amides to Meibam Ma'ichin Adai Loish Chalkas of the Gvul. Above Midas, in the level of Meichin, which is right above Midas, there's no this vision. Shem Askala Chatzchen Reis Afachim Dachuk. Like we just learned that from one scholar, for one intellectual observation, analysis, that can result into opposite results. In Kenya is an analysis Chalkas. Maybe the marshal from Mabel. Agbe Midashem Chesed Gvura is a place Chalkas. So the inner Chalkas starts in Midas. Before that it says in Das. Omnam Tzarich La'avin. So more specifically, it doesn't. Later we'll talk about it more. But and that was all. We got one point. I didn't forget that all this is the explanation of the chidush of maskala over the level of toyu loya mashiach nafim ba'apim. So there's no really schalkos and there's no relation between the spheres. But in Tikkun, there's a maskala, there's the mishkal, there's the balance, and the balance comes with ischalkus. So the B'chal is mashma from that entire way of explaining this zayah, that the ischalkus is a mile, it's Tikkun, it's a repair. In Toyo, we didn't have that, the maskala, we didn't have the mishkal. Where did it start? Only in Tikkun. So the implication is that that's Tikkun, that's a repair, that's a positive thing. So that itself needs explanation. What is the advantage in the vision? He doesn't, I bought in Toy and Tikkun, he doesn't even talk about it. He said, because we have the Tishtashas, the Eibishter created it, that the Midas is Chalkus, it means there's an advantage. So you have to understand what the advantage is. The Hagavi says, the Ischalkus in Atzilus, in Midas Atzilus, is not because of a different reason. It's because that's the intention. That's the Eibishter wanted. In the world of Sitra Ach and Klippes, there this Chalkus means something else. It means pure, yeshus. This Chalkus signifies ego and separation and breakdown. Pure. which goes back to the Torah, the Mamas of Perish Sukkot, the Ava Ikra Lecha Yisrael B'Shnayis. V'shosham, Mibchina Shver Sakayim the Torah, Shaloi Yishla B'Kavanah B'Seh. So that means the break, in other words, in Klippos, the Chalkas in Klippos, the division in the world of Klippa is it's not a mile, it's a chison. Shows ego. It shows the opposite of tikkun. Because it comes from the Torah. It comes from a breakdown. Like we said earlier, that Torah is not a mashal the kavod. It's Ba'al Daki. It's in Chachma, like we just learned in the Maimer, that it's Moshe. In the Maimer before that, the Maimer before, he explained that these two, the division of Torah is a negative thing. Aber sitter the Kedusha Shtashos Ibrahim Kazeh is a mitzvah sakavana eliyeh. The fact that the Eibishter created in Olam HaTikun the division of midas, that's a positive trait. Aber tzarich la'ovin, tzarich la'ymasher v'nisan amayla. In Olam HaToyu and in Shver Sakelim and Sitrach over there, the division is something negative. But in Olam HaTikun, the Eibishter created the Fia Kavana Eliyeh, like we learned earlier in the Hemshach. Then Hanyanlei, the Eibishter chose and wanted this Olam of Atzilus, Olam of Tikkun, and it's called Tikkun, repair. So the division there is not a chison, it's a mila. What is the advantage? What is the mila? What is the positive side of it? Well, it called like we just learned earlier, the cloud, that on the air is more general and does not symptom, does not in order for the air to reach a state of its chalkos of division, that's because it's mitzam, because is mocker, it's source, it's mitzumtzum, it's constrained, it's limited, it's hidden. So it's a negative thing. What is the mila of its chalkos? So that's the general question in this mind. What is we just explained before that in the world of tikkun, masculine, mishkal, there is this chalkos. We have to understand what is the mila. Is chalkos the chison, because chalkos is a result of tzimtzum. So now it goes into a new discussion. What is the explanation? The birthday shiur now he's going to talk about the mile of oil pnimi. The mile, in order for the oil should really reach the inner part of the makabel of the mushpa in the language of the standard martial chassidus, the student and teacher and student and other teacher should reach the actual mind of the student. That the mind of the student should capture the real idea that this teacher is trying to communicate. There has to be a pnimi. It's not enough that he does it in generalities. He has to really break it down in pnimi. The whole issue of when the oil means revelation, expression. If the expression is general, it's really the it's really not in a state of full gilu to the makabel. He brings the first marshal is from machshava v'dibur. He goes into discussion of machshava v'dibur. Shehen klal uprat. Machshava versus dibur is like the general versus the particular. The general and the general principle and the details, the specifics. Machshava p'nas elam. So the machshava it's in a state of elam. It's bichlal. It's also gilui. When is the real gilui? Only when when it expresses itself to dibur, to speech, which then has to be broken down into specific words and sentences and concepts. The way the idea is in a state in the world of machshava, when it's still not developed, it's still in a very general and hidden. Even when in machshava, he thinks about every detail that is analyzed. Even when he thinks of every detail, okay, that's an analysis of the way the human mind operates. When he compares machshava to dibur, first of all, machshava bichlal is general. He says even when he starts thinking about the details within the world of machshava, still part of the general concept. It's not yet broken down in a way that he can express it. In a way, it's a state of concealment. V'zeu inyan, so it brings the same expression we brought earlier in the Ma'or before. We spoke about Adam Kadma and spoke about the highest madrigas. Now he talks in a much simpler way. The way it works he's talking. I think he's talking in human terms. Kulam is going. I mean, I'm not sure. Maybe it's maybe just bringing the marshal from Eichet from Ak. וזהו וכולם נזכור מזכיר אחס הגם שצריך ומה ויצב כל הדרך בפרט. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it just brings in interesting. He talks about the shiur. He talks about the way it works in the human experience. Brings in an example from the concept of Lamaila. There's machshava duma. Kulam nizkor b'tzkir achas. That everything is one general scan, one general glimpse. It contains all the details, talking about the details in a very general view. Now it breaks down in machshava guf. In machshava guf, for the two stages, there's something called machshava klolis, like we just described. Person thinks about the concept, a general concept, then then that machshava comes a state lower in a way that he thinks about the details. I know the machshava, he explains it more. The machshava yesh beis madrigas. Machshava itself has two stages, two levels, two steps. There is the general machshava, the general way that he thinks about the subject, which is still in a state of total helem. Okay, so we finished talking about the concept. I mean, he brought the dogma from Dibur Machshava, but he jumped back into the Kulam Nizkor B'Tzirachas, then came back to Machshava. So the general message that we learned is what he started saying, that Kol Oyo Pnimi Davka B'Potis, Oyo Shebichlol is L'mayla Mikilu. The real deal is when it breaks down into details, when it's B'Potis. So we have Machshava Klolis. Over there, it's a helem. Then there is machshava potis, which is more gili, but still the atzma yadayim, still not full gili. The student does not know what the teacher is thinking. Still in the way of help. But he's bringing us back right away to the nimshul. So we find when we talk Lamaila in the Madrigas from in the Madrigas, the Eibishter created the world, and Niftashlos. All about saying Aposhut, so the air that Madriga. Lifnei Atzimtzum, it says in Zoya, it says Kabbalah, in Lashon HaZeres, Solik Birus and Ba'alma, Kabbalah is the Lashon. In Hebrew, and that's not Aramaic, it's Salabus, and Lashon, and Kabbalah is Sh'ala B'Tzani Aposh. When the will arose in his Tzani Aposhut, Zero Pris Machshava V'Ratzon Klali. That's called Machshava and Ratzon Klali. It's a very general and non-specific type of interest. I choose to translate Ratzon as interest, but Ratzon is will. Hakach, what does it say in Zoya? In Zoya says, "Bereisha menusa de malka goliv glifa b'tirei. The beginning of the when the Ratzon was arose, so then the God of Glifa B'Tirei, he engraved an engravement in material law and in the purity of above. Show Indian, that's already Shashor B'Koyach. Shashor B'Koyach, Mashasik Love B'Koyach. That's a step below the Ratzon. Ratzon is something klali. Goliv Glifu, that's already that he engraved something. So engraved is like an act of seal that he already gave it a certain shape. That's called Ashora B'Koyach. Shiur B'Afan B'Koyach Mashasik Love B'Koyach. Ashora means the estimate. There's something more tangible. So these two madrigas in Lifnei Atzimtzum. First is all about Tzoni, and then it's Goliv Glifu. We also, this is similar to the two madrigas he just said in Machshava Tlolis and Machshava Potis. Kamoi Kain, so similar to the ways Lifnei Atzimtzum, they're also in the Lacha Atzimtzum. Kamoi Kain, Machshava Agdoma Da'ak. It's interesting that he brings here, earlier he brought that line from Kulam Nistom Skir Achas. That usually in the cities and the previous Maimah also that line is used about Machshava Agdoma Da'ak. Now he brings it here. The Kabbalah uses, when it talks about Adam Kadmon, uses the expression Machshava Agduma. It's also Machshava. What does Machshava mean? Sheyesh b'chias klal uprat. V'esas fir sheboy. In the Machshava Agdoma Da'ak, we also have the two stages. We just described the regular Machshava, it's Machshava Klolis and Machshava Potis. So in Machshava Agdoma Da'ak, we also have these two stages, Klal and Prat. The essence spheres of Ak is two stages there. Klal and Prat, She'ein Esfers de Gulim. Esfers de Gulim. K'moya Keser Da'ak. It's Machshava Klolis. It's already, one second. I made it chat as the the essence spheres are not the real, not the ultimate essence spheres, which are in the way of Yosha. Yosha means that each has its own. It's a matter of Pnimi. In Ak, it's essence spheres the Igulim. The essence spheres themselves in the state of Igulim, which eagle. It's more abstract. It's more like an eagle. But in that gufa, you have essence spheres. Because Ak. So what is called a prat? Essence spheres the Ak is Machshava Klolis. Chachma is Machshava Klolis. So the first explanation, where do we find in Machshava Agdoma Da'ak the two states, the two levels of Klal and Prat? They're doing Keser Da'ak and Chachma. That's one way of describing and illustrating the two stages, the two madrigas. And one is called Keser, one is called Chachma. Then in other places we learned it, I think, in also in the Mamorim earlier, the Prince Reish is a Kav Shalom Ba'ala Me'ag, so Prince Hotz Klora, and he calls Hotz, that there is something called the Reish is a Kav Shalom Ba'ala Me'ag. In the way Adam Kadman is the Madriga of Adam Kadman is created, has the Madriga for Reish is a Kav. It was in the beginning of this, in the first emshon of our Sefer learning here, there was a particular discussion on this topic. He brought what it says in its time, Yesh kedugmas atik le'ela migul go to the act. There's a madrega called Reishis Hakav, which is above act. Zechnes rotz the klon and nika rotz and rotzen. So you'll call that will be the that's correlates the chayir. That's what he says. That the meaning of machshava klolis. The essence fear is that, and I guess other malchus of the rotzen pot. I think the essence fear is the rotzen. Now he interchanges rotzen and machshava. Actually, in the third line of this page also, what machshava and rotzen are interchangeable in this language. So
almost a kelalim, correct?
Yeah, it's before that. So B'meila gave us two ways to explain in Ak what are the two levels of machshava klolis, machshava potis. Way number one is the kesser in Ak is machshava klolis and chachma is potis. Second shot is that the reish is a kasha ma'ila Ak, that's the machshava klolis, and that's a sphere is that's potis. So we call makoim still gam a machshava potis and it's maki vadayin and plus el and plus klolis vadayin. So just like we said in the mashal, that even the lower level of machshava, it's still in your mind, in the mind of the teacher. It doesn't leave the student. So it's stuck a lower state. It's more b'potius, but it's still b'yachas to the student, b'yachas to the makabel. It's still makif. He doesn't hear what the teacher thinks. Even though the teacher thinks in a more specific way, the student can't hear it. Like I already pointed out in a few places, interestingly enough, well, generally when we say that why can't we understand, why can't we know what the other person is thinking? Because we can't read his mind. We can't, right? So it's just like almost like a technical thing. In order for us to know what he thinks, he has to tell us. This is the intuitive way of understanding it. But Chassidus in various places as a more deeper view of this. That the real reason why machshava doesn't reach us is because at that stage it still didn't reach the level we can relate to. Not a luyitz. According to this view, luyitzuya, someone can read someone else's mind. It's still, but it's in the level of machshava in the mind of the mashpia. Even if I can read his mind, I won't be able to read to really get it unless he says it with diva. Because when it's a level of machshava, it's still behelim. In other words, the helm of machshava, the way Chassidus sees it, is not just a technical barrier. It's like saying there's light in one room, there's a door in between. The light is very strong. If there happens to be a door in between, when you open the door, you'll see the light. In other words, that would have been the more intuitive understanding why you can't understand what the other person is thinking, because there's a block. I just don't know what he's thinking. But Chassidus says there's something more deeper here. The fact that he can't know what he's thinking is because thought, by definition, is a level of understanding that is not capable, that the student is not capable of getting. So the same thing here. He says there are two levels of machshava. So even the low level of machshava, it cannot reach the makabel because it's makif. It's a type of gilui which is not relatable to the makabel.
It's makif or penimi, because it's penimi says it's not begilui, no? I mean that doesn't.
Makif means that. Let's read what it says. Makif in the sense that it doesn't, b'yachas to the makabel, it doesn't reach him. It just surrounds him. When you see a teacher thinking, you know that he's thinking about something deep. You can observe it, but you don't get it because you don't know what he's thinking about. It's makif. It means it doesn't. It's still hidden. What he really, what the the content he's thinking about doesn't reach the makabel. So please makif adayin, the heinefness, elemness clothes. In this context, makif and helam are similar. It doesn't penetrate you. It doesn't get into you. It's just something from the outside. So it doesn't. You don't really. It's not misgality. The dafke bedibu boing and the part. So the real gilui is dafke and dibu. This is actually the topic we started talking about in the Maimon before. We piv das. We spoke about piv das is piv. The real division, the real gilui happens only in the world of dibu. This is the idea that he's teaching us here. Okay, we're gonna talk more about dibu tomorrow.
Yeah.